Hello there, my name's Michael, so I'm going to give you one fun activity to practice your chord changes. So a key, in this case a major key, is just a group of chords that sound good together. And pretty much most of the popular music you'll ever hear groups together chords from a certain key and they just happen to sound real good together. I'll be focusing on the physical aspect of playing chord shapes here, okay? Not so much the theory, but I will sprinkle that in so you know what's happening and it'll give you a deeper understanding of the songs that you hear. So let's take the key of C major. Now there are 7 chords in every key. Now there's one more unusual chord called a diminished chord and it's less common in popular music. So in this case I'm just going to omit it. I will do future videos on major keys that have that included, but it's not really need to know information for the minute, so just don't worry about it for now. So the 7 chords that we're going to use from the key of C major are C, D minor, E minor, F, whatever F you know, just go with it, G, and A minor. And then just go back to C again. So that's our framework and our rules, if you will, for the key of C major. Now what I want you to do is make sure you have those shapes down, okay? For the F chord, do whatever F you know, okay? There's various ways to play that chord. Just go with what you know. And what I want you to do here is cycle through all the chords in that key with just one strumming pattern, okay? So we're going to do this pattern here. Down, up, down, down, down. Down, up, down, down, down. And if you were to count that out, that's 1 and 2, 3, 4. We're going to do that twice on every chord in the key. So we're going to start on C, we'll go all the way through and end on a C. So something like this. Now then, what this does is it gives you a practice of chords that are likely to come up together in songs. You know, these chords will be familiar to you if you've been playing for a while. And what I want you to do is think of how that sounded. It all sounded like it fitted and complemented each other. Nothing sounded out of place, or you might use the word dissonant. Nothing sounded like that. It all sounded like it worked and fitted together. So that's one part of the activity. The next part is to take the chords in that key but mix up the order in which you play them. So in that case, when I was playing there, it was kind of going in a very linear fashion, safe if you will. It all sounded safe. But let's jazz it up a bit here. Mix up the order in which you play the chords. But what I would say is start with the key that you're in. In this case, that would be C major. So start with the C major chord. It'll sound like it fits together if you start with that chord and end on it. But then you've 5 other chords to choose from to play in any order you want. And you're actually kind of making your own wee song here as you do it. But you're getting a real good workout of the physical aspect of changing between all these chord shapes. So I'll do something off the cuff here just because I know that key well, but you can study the key and write out the combinations you want to do. So let's mix it up. And that might have a familiar sound because it's a chord progression from Let It Be by the Beatles. So what you might discover here, don't worry about the copyright infringement by the way, you might be kind of playing familiar songs that you know already by just going through this activity. So it's rather fun to discover these kind of things. So I hope that's clear then. Once you can play through the key from start to finish, then feel free to mix it up a bit. The next key we'll do is the key of G major. So we'll start with G, A minor, B minor. Now again, we've got one of these chords where you might know some versions of it. You might know a little tiny shape like that, or the 4-fingered shape I did there, or a bar chord. Whatever you know and you can manage, just go with it, okay? So we had our B minor, C, D, E minor, and then go back home to G. So let's play through that key with the same strumming pattern I started with. Again, all sounds good and you get a good workout of all those familiar shapes that would come up in songs you want to play. And then I'll do an example off the cuff here if I mix it up a bit. So I'll start with G and end on G, but I'll mix up the chords in between. So I like the sound of that. It doesn't remind me of any song, you know, but if you know one, tell me. It's bound to be in some song somewhere. And again, it gives you different ways to practice all these familiar chords, but you can think of this as something called ear training. It's training your ear to know what chords in a key sound like. They should all, after a while, sound like it all fits and complements each other. Doesn't sound like random chords stuck together. There's, you know, some kind of thought behind it. Now next we'll do the key of D major. And there's one other reason I want to do this video and talk about these things for you. Is sometimes you will get chords that come up and you're like, oh, I don't know how to play that chord. Or you might know, oh, I need to do this horrible bar chord shape that I'm not very good at. You know, I'm familiar with those kind of thoughts and I sympathize with it. But I'll give you some ways you can practice it anyway that might not be so difficult. So the chords in the key of D major are this. We've got D, E minor, F sharp minor, don't worry, I'll come back to that, G, A, B minor, and then back to D. So for that F sharp minor, you might know a big bar chord, you might have tried it and failed at it, and it's not so good so far. Don't worry about that so much, okay? There's another way you can get around playing that chord. So if you cannot do anything else, you can do a little F sharp minor bar chord by just putting the first finger to cover those 3 skinny strings at fret 2. If that's all you can do, that's alright, go with it. But what I would say is to make that into a more usable chord that you'll be able to actually get some use out of, put another finger, either the 3rd or the little finger, at fret 4 of the 4th string. So if you can do that, that would be great. Or use your little finger if you can't manage that. Now I know it's going to be tough if you've never done that kind of thing, or you've been struggling with it to get these notes here to come out. Just do your best, okay? Either that way more that way. And then let's take some of the chords from that key and I'll come up with something here that might sound like a familiar song. So the point I'm making there is when you look up songs on the internet, you type in such and such song to Google and chords, and you see, one of these chord charts, and it has these chords that you're not familiar with, like F sharp minor. At least you have a way to have a stab at them. Don't just put them off and be like, oh, I'll leave that. Give it a go anyway, even if it doesn't sound great. You've got to start somewhere. So on that topic of troublesome chords, let's move on to the key of A major. So I'll just go through the chords here. So A, B minor, C sharp minor, don't worry, I'll come back to that, D, E, and good old F sharp minor again, and back to A. Now then, we covered F sharp minor, we covered B minor earlier, and I want to talk about this shape here. This is very useful. So this shape is very useful because we can move it around the neck, and I'll come back to that in a future lesson. But for now, if you have a song and it tells you to play a chord, C sharp minor, take this B minor shape and bump it up 2 frets. These are very nice sounding chords. You get a nice sound from those higher 4 strings. So B minor, move it up 2 frets. So these guys are now at fret 6. That one's at fret 5. That one's at 4. Leave out the thick strings. And that's a perfectly fine C sharp minor. So let's play through that key. We'll see what it sounds like. Now then, I'll show you an example of where these shapes will come in handy. So there's a very cool song called While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and it has some of these more or less common chords than your open chords you might know well. So there's a way you can play it with the shapes I've shown you, and these are using chords that are all in the key of A major. There we go, so I hope you enjoyed that. It gives you a way to practice your chords and go a bit deeper into what they're going to help you with in your future. So again, if those kind of more difficult shapes are new to you, I urge you to start doing them anyway. Even if things don't sound great all the time, you've got to start knocking away at them, okay? And this is a very good way to learn a bit more about the guitar, how songs are made, and to get used to the physical aspect of going between all these shapes. So if you found value here, give it a like, and I'll be putting more videos up here for a long time to come, so subscribe for some more.